Today I started Dakota off in the small pen, working on yielding his hindquarters. I also wanted to start working on getting his shoulders to yield. Dakota was beginning to use his shoulders to block and push me around. Like people, horses are all unique. Sometimes the key to understanding lies in the front end, and sometimes it's in the back end. Dakota may be a horse that true control will come through the manipulation of his front end, not his back end. There are some horses who will yield their hindquarters all day long, but are very sticky about their front end. Without control over both ends and all 4 feet, you're really not in control. Dakota's leading was pretty good in the small pen, so I took him out into the main pen. There are 2 types of turns you can do while leading. I can either turn towards the horse and the horse yields away from me, or I can turn away from the horse and he has to draw around to keep up with me. Dakota seems to be naturally better at the yielding turn when I turn into him. When I turn away from him, he sort of cuts the corner, and instead of drawing around the outside of the turn, he cuts in to be on my left side. That's a shoulders control issue. But hey, he's just learning this for the first time, so I'm not too picky. Aries and I are still working on left and right hind leg yields. I want to make sure those yields are solid. Another moment of what the heck am I doing? Once Aries is yielding with that inside hind foot, I then want to draw him forward, get those front feet moving towards me. Pretty soon he'll be leading without even knowing it. His left front foot is starting to get unstuck and walking forward. As always, I give Aries a chance to get close and sniff. As I do all of this work with yielding and drawing, I am always trying to inch my way closer to him. A friend asked me what would happen if you put a domestic raised horse in with a wild raised horse, so I brought Picasso down. Notice here that Aries is telling Picasso who's boss right off the bat. When I introduced Picasso to my first Mustang, Rowdy, he was a cheeky 2-year-old and got into trouble by being a chauvinist. Thankfully, age has given Picasso some sense, and he did not try to pull that with Aries. Picasso and Dakota got along very well, but Picasso never again approached Aries. It was nice to see Dakota and Aries spending time together. In this position, they can swish flies off each other's faces with their tails, effectively. Today I wanted to start to address Dakota's desire to bully me with his shoulders. To effectively have control over the whole horse, I need to be able to move both ends, and more precisely, each foot. I start by directing his face away from me and putting some pressure on his shoulder with my hand. Any movement away from my hand is rewarded. The ultimate goal, of course, being to get the leg closest to me to cross over the other front leg. Gradually, as he starts to get the idea, I ask him until he crosses over the front legs. I also want Dakota to move away from energy directed at his shoulder. I won't always be in the position to physically move his shoulders. Again, any movement is rewarded, even excessive movement. Piece by piece, Dakota will learn to lunge around me in a circle. Sometimes I take for granted just how many little parts a horse has to learn to put together a whole maneuver. Breaking it down certainly puts things into perspective. This was kind of a big day for Dakota. I decided to try to lead him out of the pen and into the neighboring pasture. There was a horse in there, which I thought would be a nice piece of incentive for Dakota. A gate creates a squeeze situation. Being a prey animal, a horse always wants an exit. And a gate only has 2 exits, forward and backward. That narrows things down for the horse, and most horses don't initially like to go through a squeeze. Dakota finally overcame his fear, and we went on a nice walk around the pasture. Walking is one of the best forms of bonding you can do with a horse. In the wild, they walk with each other all day long. Now to go back through the gate. This took a bit more convincing, probably because he enjoyed his walk. Pulling on his head accomplishes nothing. Here, I'm merely trying to keep his head straight. His body will go wherever his head is pointed. Going back out of the gate was a breeze the second time. He didn't even pause. But coming back in was again a challenge. He just didn't want to go home for dinner yet. Finally, right after we turned off the video camera, he came through the gate. My friend and Mustang owner, Kathy, once suggested to me that I lay down in the pen with the horses. She has done this with nearly all of her Mustangs. It puts you in the most vulnerable and non-threatening position possible. The horses have the upper hand. It's dangerous, yes, but part of getting trust is giving trust. Dakota, of course, came right over to torture me by trying to take my hat and bite my pants. Aries was happy to observe from afar.